Little Red Riding Hood. Once upon a time, in a small village near a deep green forest, there lived a sweet little girl. She was cheerful, curious, and kind to everyone she met. She loved flowers, birdsong, and sunny afternoons spent running through the meadows. But what everyone remembered most about her was the bright red hooded cape she always wore. Her grandmother had made it for her by hand. It fit her so perfectly, and she loved it so much that she wore it almost every day. Before long, everyone began calling her Little Red Riding Hood, and she didn't mind at all. She loved her grandmother dearly. Her grandmother lived alone in a small cottage deep in the forest. Though she was old, she was gentle and warm, and she always welcomed Little Red Riding Hood with fresh bread, sweet tea, and stories by the fire. One morning, Little Red Riding Hood's mother prepared a basket. Inside were warm bread, fresh butter, honey, and a small jar of soup. "Grandmother isn't feeling well," her mother said. "Please take this to her." Little Red Riding Hood smiled. "Of course, mother." Her mother knelt and gently fixed the red hood around her shoulders. "Listen carefully," she said. "Stay on the path through the forest. Do not wander, and do not talk to strangers." "I won't," the little girl promised. With the basket in hand, she set off toward the forest. The morning was beautiful. Sunlight streamed through the trees in golden rays. Birds sang overhead. Butterflies danced over wildflowers beside the path. Little Red Riding Hood walked happily, humming a little tune to herself. She stayed on the path just as her mother had said, at least at first. Not far into the forest, something moved behind the trees. A wolf stepped onto the path. He was large and gray, with sharp eyes and quiet footsteps. But his voice, when he spoke, sounded calm and friendly. "Good morning, little one," he said. Little Red Riding Hood stopped. She remembered her mother's warning, but the wolf smiled politely, and he did not seem frightening at all. "Good morning," she replied. "Where are you going with that lovely basket?" asked the wolf. Little Red Riding Hood hesitated. Then, forgetting to be cautious, she answered, "I'm visiting my grandmother. She lives in a cottage deep in the forest." The wolf's eyes narrowed slightly. "How lovely," he said. "And where exactly is this cottage?" "It's just beyond the oak trees," she said, pointing ahead. "Near the stream." The wolf smiled. "How nice." Inside, he was already making a plan. He knew the forest well. He also knew a shortcut. "Well," said the wolf, "your grandmother is very lucky to have such a caring granddaughter." Little Red Riding Hood beamed. "Thank you." The wolf looked toward a field of wildflowers. "Your grandmother may enjoy flowers too," he said casually. "Those flowers are beautiful today." Little Red Riding Hood turned. He was right. Bright yellow and pink flowers covered the meadow. She imagined her grandmother smiling at a fresh bouquet. "That's a wonderful idea," she said. The wolf bowed his head. "Enjoy your walk." Then he quietly slipped away into the trees. The moment he disappeared, he ran, fast, much faster than Little Red Riding Hood. Meanwhile, she stepped off the path. Just for a moment, she thought. Just enough time to pick a few flowers. But one flower led to another, and another. Soon she wandered farther than she realized, filling her arms with flowers while humming happily. By the time she returned to the path, much more time had passed than she knew. Meanwhile, the wolf had already reached grandmother's cottage. Knock, knock. Grandmother looked up from her bed. "Who is it?" she called. "It's me," said the wolf, copying a sweet little voice. "Little Red Riding Hood." Grandmother smiled. "The door is unlocked, dear. Come in." The wolf pushed the door open. The poor grandmother gasped in shock. But before she could scream, the wolf rushed forward. In this gentler telling, instead of harming her, The wolf quickly locked Grandmother inside a large wooden closet. Grandmother banged on the door. "Let me out!" But the wolf ignored her. He put on Grandmother's nightcap. He pulled the blanket up to his chin. Then he climbed into her bed and waited. Not long after, Little Red Riding Hood arrived. She knocked lightly. "Grandmother? It's me. Come in, dear," came a strange voice. Little Red Riding Hood stepped inside. The cottage felt unusually quiet. She walked toward the bed. Something felt strange. Grandmother looked different, very different. Little Red Riding Hood moved closer. "Grandmother," she said slowly, "what big ears you have." "All the better to hear you with, my dear." She frowned. "Grandmother, what big eyes you have." "All the better to see you with, my dear." She took another step back. "Grandmother, what big hands you have." "All the better to hug you with, my dear." Now her heart began to race. Something was very wrong. She stared at the figure in the bed. "Grandmother," she whispered, "what big teeth you have." The wolf threw off the blanket. "All the better to eat you with." He lunged forward. Little Red Riding Hood screamed. She dropped the basket and ran. The wolf chased after her through the cottage. She darted around the table. The chair tipped over. The basket spilled, bread rolled across the floor. Just then, a woodcutter, passing near the cottage, heard the scream. He dropped his axe and ran to the door. Inside, he saw the wolf. Without hesitation, he shouted, "Stop!" The wolf turned. The sudden loud voice startled him. The woodcutter charged forward. The wolf realized he had lost his advantage. With a growl, he leaped past the woodcutter and raced out the door, disappearing into the forest as fast as he could. Silence filled the cottage. Little Red Riding Hood trembled. The woodcutter gently knelt beside her. "You're safe now." Then they heard banging. "Help!" The voice came from the closet. The woodcutter opened it. Out came Grandmother, flustered but unharmed. Little Red Riding Hood burst into tears and threw her arms around her. "Grandmother." Grandmother hugged her tightly. "Oh, my dear child." For a long moment, no one said anything. They were simply grateful to be safe. After some time, Grandmother sat by the fire wrapped in a blanket. Little Red Riding Hood sat beside her, still holding her hand. The woodcutter smiled warmly. "I think everyone is safe now." Little Red Riding Hood lowered her eyes. "I'm sorry," she said softly. Grandmother gently touched her cheek. "For what, dear?" "I didn't listen to Mother. I talked to a stranger. I left the path." Grandmother smiled kindly. "Yes," she said. "You made mistakes." Little Red Riding Hood looked sad. "But mistakes can teach us something important." The little girl listened carefully. "Kindness is good," Grandmother said. "But kindness must walk with wisdom. Not everyone who smiles means well." Little Red Riding Hood nodded. She understood now. The forest was beautiful. The world was beautiful. But being kind did not mean forgetting to be careful. The woodcutter helped clean the cottage. Grandmother served tea once everything was calm again. This time the bread, butter, honey, and soup were finally enjoyed the way they were meant to be. As evening fell, warm firelight filled the cottage. Little Red Riding Hood rested her head on Grandmother's shoulder. She felt safe again. Before leaving for home, she made a promise. "From now on," she said, "I will stay on the path." Grandmother smiled. "That is a very good promise." And she kept it. From that day on, Little Red Riding Hood remained just as kind and cheerful as before. But now, she was wiser too. She still loved flowers. She still loved the forest. She still smiled at sunny mornings. But she learned to listen to the people who loved her. And she learned that courage is not only about facing danger. Sometimes, courage is also about making better choices. And so Little Red Riding Hood returned home safely, carrying not only an empty basket, but also a wiser heart. The end.